Good morning. Welcome to the Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller on this Thursday, the 6th of August. And we're just glad you're with us. Let's take a look at the headlines, some of the things we're going to be covering with today's show. Today we have more on Tuesday's flooding, and it was so much rain that fell right here in Norfolk, created massive amounts of flash flooding. It's some folks referring to it as a once in a century or 1 in 100 year event. Tremendous amount of rain. We have had some heavier amounts of rain across the region with tropical systems, but it was that kind of a downpour over parts of the metro, and the flooding was incredible. We'll show you some more of that. We also have the National Severe Weather Outlook. We'll look forward today to parts of the country that could see flash flooding and then the severe potential as well. In addition, some really interesting stories related to wildfires. You know, they've still continued to be a major problem out west, especially up in the northwest. We'll take you to Washington and Oregon states, but over in Europe, specifically France, Croatia, some of the other areas that have been hit pretty hard. But one area in France in particular we're going to talk about, they have World War II shells that have been exposed. And in some cases, they're actually exploding. So think about that. You had ordnances and shells from World War II that were pretty much buried or lost in some of the forests, and due to all the fires out there, they're now being exposed and creating some pretty dangerous situations. So we'll have more on that story. In addition, we have the brand new U.S. Drought Monitor, more good news across parts of the region. We'll talk about that. And keep in mind, this updated Drought Monitor, what's coming down today, doesn't even include the massive amounts of flooding rain that we just saw on Tuesday. They actually stopped the Drought Monitor. The cutoff for the data that goes into this week's release was Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock, and that flash flooding occurred after 8 on Tuesday. So even more relief coming next week across the region. We do have a tropical activity update, a new updated forecast from Colorado State University. We'll talk a little bit more on that, and we'll have the outlook in general going into the upcoming weekend. And it's not looking too bad, although it is going to be hot here in the mid-Atlantic. Let's start off, though, by revisiting what was going on Tuesday. And as we take a quick look at the month, and I had to start this on the 2nd of August because the 1st was on that Saturday, and then we ran out of weeks on the graph. If I showed the 1st, we wouldn't be able to show the 30th and 31st. So I thought I'd pick it up on the 2nd of August. You can see it was a pretty warm start. But the date I really wanted to show you again, 1.22 inches. That was at Norfolk International officially. That's the official rain gauge for Hampton Roads. But other parts of Norfolk got more than 6 inches of rain on Tuesday, causing flash flooding in some areas. Now, as residents are still cleaning up, city leaders are explaining why existing flood protections couldn't keep up with the downpour. Patrick Gray reports.
When the rain started falling Tuesday afternoon, Corbin Thompson knew Norfolk was flooding. What she didn't know was she'd end up helping rescue someone.
Once the water was kind of splashing and it was up to my thighs, I said, yeah, this is probably the worst I've seen it in a while.
Thompson was trying to get to her daughter's practice, navigating flooded streets and rising water across the city. Then, near the Colley Avenue underpass, she saw an SUV heading straight into trouble. Within moments, the vehicle became trapped in water she estimates was nearly 6 feet deep.
So I just kind of hooked my arm against the rail and just held on tight, and then I just took my leg out and just pulled her vehicle through, like right through the water.
Across Norfolk, scenes like this played out as parts of the city recorded more than 6 inches of rain. City leaders say the timing made matters worse, with much of the rain falling during high tide, slowing drainage.
All of our pumps in those underpasses were functioning as they are designed to. However, given the amount of rain that we saw in that short period of time, we saw flooding in 3 of the underpasses.
Deputy City Manager Doug Beaver says crews prepare daily for summer storms, but not every storm is the same.
That's about a 0.5% annual chance of that neighborhood getting that much rain in a 3-hour period.
The city continues investing in flood resilience projects, from Ohio Creek improvements to the planned coastal storm protection system. Project now estimated to cost more than $6 billion.
Certainly an event like yesterday, we're going to have challenges.
Challenges people like Thompson know all too well. Her own vehicle sustained water damage. Still, she says she believes in the city, but just wants more.
All right, one Norfolk business owner made the most of the torrential rain. You've probably seen this viral video of Joe Skiers by now. He owns Joe's Tires and Rims on Monticello Avenue. And during Tuesday's downpour, he decided to go for a ride on a jet ski. Skiers says the water was 3 to 4 feet deep in spots outside of his business.
I said, man, this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. I said, we're going to put the jet skis in the water. And they looked at me and said, no, you're not, Dad. I said, yes, I am. I started taking my shoes and socks off. They turned around. By that time, I was pulling the jet skis out here on Monticello, dumping the jet ski into the water, and took off.
That is something else to see that. Skiers says this is the worst flooding he's seen in Norfolk. He spent Wednesday clearing the debris left behind in his parking lot. All right, so the flash flooding hit more than just Hampton Roads on Tuesday. The owners of James River Tackle Shop at Hopewell say years of hard work were washed away in minutes. They estimate more than a foot of water filled the store in minutes after drains backed up on both sides of their building. They tried to save fishing rods and computers, but thousands of dollars in inventory and supplies were ruined.
If you go through them doors behind me, that's where we keep all of our back stock, and all of that it's just been buried in mud and water. All of the shelves in our store here, when I built them, I put enough room under them where we could keep back stock. So as product gets low, we can just put it back up. All of that's ruined. We didn't have time to get it all off the floor.
The owners are now waiting for their insurance company to assess the damage before they start cleaning up. What a mess there. Well, there's still a level 1 threat for excessive rainfall, mainly down to the south. I don't think we're going to see too much up into southern Chesapeake or southern Virginia Beach, but I do think we could see a few stray storms that could be slow movers down around the Albemarle Sound. I'll have more on that coming up in the full forecast. The general flooding outlook, you can see again, it's level 1, which means it's possible, not necessarily likely, but there could be some heavy amounts of rain anywhere from Arizona and New Mexico across Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, and back down through the southeast U.S. Severe weather chances greatest here in southern parts of Missouri, southwest Missouri into southeast Kansas. Level 2 or slight risk there. You can see this morning we are tracking some flood warnings back across. That's Franklin County in Missouri there, and along I-70 there through central Missouri, some heavy rain advisories out for Kansas, and from Dodge City back over towards Wichita, we do have some more wet weather across Kansas. There's a severe weather outlook. Independence, Kansas through Springfield, Branson, Joplin, Missouri, all these areas under that level 2 threat. Not worried about tornadoes, but some stronger winds are possible. Also some hail out that way. That's the severe weather outlook for today. As we look ahead to Friday, it's basically Iowa, parts of Minnesota up through Wisconsin and the UP of Michigan, and a little bit over eastern Pennsylvania. And for Saturday, the outlook again, just level 1, but across the upper central part of the country. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, wildfires still burning out of control in Washington state. We'll hear from one evacuee who came back to find her home destroyed. Plus, drought conditions around the world revealing long forgotten pieces of history. And the new U.S. Drought Monitor is out. It has all the rain we've been getting across the region the past couple of weeks. Has it really helped Hampton Roads? We'll let you know. Welcome back to the Weather Desk. We're going to update you on wildfires, and those wildfires in the northwest U.S. still burning out of control in Washington state. A lot of smoke in the northwest U.S. and the air quality really feeling the effects with all of that smoke over portions of the northwest across Montana down into Wyoming and Colorado. This is a look at the aftermath in Spokane County, where more than 1,300 firefighters are battling the Old Trails fire, the Autumn Lane fire, and the Fairview fire. So far, the flames have burned more than 10,000 acres and are 0% contained. 65,000 people have been ordered to evacuate, and many of them are returning to find their homes gone.
I left with the thought that we were being evacuated maybe for the night and we were going to come back. I did grab, some important things, but not nearly enough that I would have grabbed if I would have realized we were going to lose everything.
A man is now charged with arson in connection to one of those wildfires. 37-year-old Aaron Farinacci is accused of intentionally starting the Old Trails fire. He's being held on a $1 million bond and will be arraigned today. The cause of the other two fires are still under investigation. All right, we're going to take you from the northwest U.S. over to Europe, and I want to talk to you about what's going on over there, specifically in France. And we're going to take a look at a region of France. It's out to the west of Bordeaux here, and got to tell you, flames there uncovered long-buried mortar shells in the village of Le Porge, causing several explosions. Think about this. Okay, again, it's about 45 miles to the west of Bordeaux. Those munitions are more than 80 years old, left behind during World War II. After the flames were put out, bomb experts found more than 400 shells. It's not uncommon to find unexploded munitions in parts of Europe, but wildfires have made them especially dangerous. Staying here in Europe, we're taking a look at wildfires being fueled by drought conditions, and specifically we'll focus on Croatia. Historically low water levels in the Drava River stranded docked boats and revealed a shipwreck. The Danube River is also very low right now. Scientists say both the Drava and the Danube rivers are fed mainly by snow in the Alps, which has been lacking for the past couple of years. And drought conditions have also revealed something long forgotten in England as we zoom in to Derby and Derbyshire. Check it out. The South Lawn at the Chatsworth House in Derbyshire has been turned into a temporary map of a garden that disappeared 300 years ago. You're looking at the outline that was once the Great Parterre, or Parterre, I hope I'm saying that right. It was a formal garden of paths and ornamental planting designed in 1699 for the first Duke of Devonshire. It was covered over with a new design around 1730, but the ground still holds traces of it.
You can see behind me there's a large extent of central path, and those swirls are really detailed. It's a wonderful opportunity to see a layer of history that we don't normally get to see here.
The same effect appeared at Chatsworth House during dry periods in 2018 and 2022. The pattern may fade again when wet weather returns. And by the way, if Chatsworth House looks familiar, it's because it was used in the 2005 adaptation of Pride and Prejudice as the home of Mr. Darcy. Well, back here at home, the updated U.S. Drought Monitor came about an hour ago, and we'll take a look at what's going on here. We haven't seen really much change across Hampton Roads. Again, all of that rain we saw on Tuesday across the region has not been factored in yet to this update, which just came out. They literally stopped collecting data at 8 a.m. on Tuesday, and so much of that heavy rain came after that. There are some more positive changes, though, across the region. Again, parts of the area that were under severe drought knocked back to moderate drought, and many areas that were moderate are now just abnormally dry out to the west. Also, some of the portions of northwest Virginia and northern Western areas down into North Carolina that were under extreme have been knocked back to severe. So some of those extreme drought areas have been taken out. Basically, the entire region has been getting relief, and all of these levels have been knocked back a little bit relative to what they were before. So some good news there. A lot of relief over western parts of North Carolina. Southeast doing better. Florida could still use some rain. Still dry there along coastal sections of South Carolina. And we still have areas of extreme drought out across the western U.S., but many areas starting to do a little bit better. All right, we're going to take another break. Coming up next, Colorado State University released its updated outlook for the rest of the hurricane season. We'll hear from one of those forecasters. Welcome back to the Weather Desk. It's great to be with you. We're going to talk about the tropical weather outlook. And, you know, every year ahead of the hurricane season, Colorado State University releases predictions for how many named storms we could see. Well, CNU released this most recent prediction, and this came out just after our Weather Desk aired yesterday. So we wanted to pass these numbers along. 9 named storms, 4 hurricanes, 1 major hurricane. It really hasn't changed since their previous. Now, I will say we had the chance to sit down with a forecaster from CSU and talk more about why they've held these numbers the same.
So we kept our numbers the same from early July, and that's a little bit lower than what we forecast in June and April. Basically just because we're more confident that we are going to see a very strong El Nino for the remainder of the hurricane season. The El Nino that we currently have is quite powerful, and it's likely to continue to get even stronger here over the next couple of months. Now, El Nino is warmer than normal water in the central and eastern tropical Pacific, and why that matters for the Atlantic is what it does to levels of what we call vertical wind shear, which is a change in wind speed and direction with height in the atmosphere. Too much shear is bad for hurricanes, good for us. It tends to tilt the hurricane circulation. It disrupts it. It mixes in dry air, all things that hurricanes don't want. So this year, because we already have a strong El Nino and it's likely to continue to amplify, we are expecting that the very high levels of vertical wind shear will persist across the deep tropics, so the Caribbean and farther east in the tropical Atlantic. Now, as you move a little farther north, more into the subtropics, the relationship between El Nino and vertical wind shear tends to be weaker. So perhaps we could see more storms forming, a little bit further to the north. Those storms tend to form in a little bit more marginal environment. So while they still can cause some impacts, they tend to be a little bit weaker. So for example, Arthur and Bertha are good examples, right? They formed in the Gulf, but they were fairly weak storms. Not that they can't be significant flood events, but unlikely to be very powerful major hurricanes if you form at higher latitudes, especially in the Gulf, because you're close to land. You're like, you probably just don't have enough time to spin up and become, a really strong storm.
So we're going to continue to watch all of this, and we will, of course, keep you updated here at 13 News Now. And you can also check in with, Hurricane Hub Live. That's the place to get your full tropical update. Tim does a great job. Our full 8-minute interview with Phil Klutzbach, that airs tonight on Hurricane Hub Live with Chief Meteorologist Tim Pandages. You can watch that every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 o'clock right here on the 13 News Now app. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can download the app by scanning the QR code you see right there on the screen. We'll take a look at the tropics right now, and I do want to give you a quick update on what's going on here as we look across the Atlantic Basin. Still quiet in the Gulf, across the Caribbean, and the main development region. Quite simply, no tropical activity expected over the coming 7 days. Couple of areas we're watching here on the Pacific, neither showing great chances of development right now. This one with a 20% chance, likely to continue moving westward, maybe just south of Hawaii. And this one, again, well offshore from Mexico, a 30% chance for development over the coming week. All right, we're going to take you live outside. I've got the rest of the forecast coming up for this Thursday and looking ahead to the weekend. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Weather Desk. A few minutes ago, well, I shouldn't say a few minutes ago, at the beginning of the show, I mentioned there was going to be a chance for a few stray showers or maybe a couple of heavier downpours down around the Albemarle Sound. Chances for rain today, pretty low, about 20%. Tomorrow, it drops down to 10%. I expect mostly sunny conditions and dry conditions for much of the area. Few more clouds later today, and that rain chance around the Albemarle. Late Saturday and then Sunday afternoon, Monday afternoon, Tuesday afternoon, and Wednesday afternoon, each of those days, about a 30% chance. I do think we are going to see some isolated cells popping up as we get into this very, very typical summertime pattern where you just have all of this heat and the humidity. If you're here in the mid-Atlantic and you've stepped outside, you feel it. Dew points are in the mid-70s, so there's a lot of humidity to work with in the atmosphere. You get the daytime highs in the low 90s, and not just today and tomorrow, but Saturday and looking ahead to Sunday, the same. Highs near 92. Late day shower or storm possible on Saturday into the evening. A better chance for afternoon showers and storms on Sunday, and then those chances continue into next week. It's going to get even hotter, I think, by Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. We're looking at highs in the mid-90s. For today, a decent amount of sunshine. We are seeing some fair weather clouds drifting through. We do have a cruise ship in town right now, ported at the Half Moon Cruise Terminal. Just a really nice live look outside. If you're going to the beaches today, what a day for that. UV index very high. Got to think about the sunscreen. Always a good idea to use it. Rip current threat is low. Water temperature now 78. The waves there at the ocean front about 2 feet. Looking out on the water, generally today not a bad day as the winds ease a bit. But I will mention this G20. That means gusts to 20 knots. As we go late afternoon and into the evening, generally the winds are weakening today, but we could see a few higher gusts offshore from Virginia Beach heading into the evening. There may be a little something kicking up there. All right, not much cloud cover right now as we take a look at the temperatures across the south side, low 90s, mix of clouds and sunshine on the peninsula. Gloucester at 91, 89 at Matthews, mid to upper 80s from Melfa to Cape Charles. Down along the Outer Banks, mid to upper 80s, 90 at Windsor and Edenton, 90 at Elizabeth City. We do have that chance for stray showers or storms down there. Lows tonight near 75, mainly clear. It's going to be warm and muggy. Tomorrow back up to 93. Another hot day, mostly sunny. It will be hot and humid. Isolated storms possible late Saturday, really Saturday evening. And then Sunday, I think a few isolated storms during the afternoon. We'll also see those chances, as I mentioned, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Want to remind you, you can always get the latest news, traffic, and weather on the go with the 13 News Now mobile app. It is such a great way to stay connected and have full access to our radars. Any special weather coverage, you'll be connected right there through the mobile app. Just scan that QR code. The app is absolutely free and available at the App Store and Google Play. You want to check it out. Thanks for checking out the Weather Desk again today. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller. We'll look forward to seeing you next time.